An instrumental person at the beginning of the Renaissance was Giotto di Bondone. He was a Florentine painter that lived from 1266 until 1337. His best piece of artwork is a fresco cycle of the Arena Chapel, which is located in Padua, Italy. Other pieces of art that exemplify his naturalistic style consist of Betrayal of Jesus, Lamentation, and Entry into Jerusalem. I will focus on Giotto, but will also review artwork from other artists during this time period. While Giotto was certainly an influential figure and is one of the most famous people of his time, there were other artists that used realism in their works of art. During the Renaissance, many artists, including Giotto, demonstrated realism and humanism through the scenes of people and the use of human expression. This method is effective at portraying realism, but there are also other ways to do so. An example would be including landscape as part of the focal point in the painting. I will include Giotto among other artists that illustrate realism and humanism in their artwork. As previously mentioned, naturalism and humanism were the main focal points in artwork throughout the Renaissance. One way artists depicted humanism in the artwork was by putting very defined faces on people. They express emotion and almost seem to move within their still frames. Previously, artists portrayed people with faces that barely had any expression. It was almost as if they were veils that were completely detached from their surroundings. Perhaps the bubonic plague led to humanism, which was paramount to the birth of the Renaissance. With the bubonic plague destroying more than half of the Italian population, maybe people found it more important to focus on the natural world that surrounds them and the people that remain in it rather than creating horrifying depictions of the gateway to heaven and hell. Even Cavallini's portrayal of the Last Judgment is characterized by compassion, which extremely contrasts with Geisel Brutus's version of the Last Judgment on the Autun Cathedral. With such frightening events that recently took place, people could have believed that it was better to center their attention on nature, those around them, depictions of Jesus, and the angels in heaven. Some pieces of art from the Renaissance era excluded religion altogether. Even those pieces of art that do include religion all seem to focus on empathy and tender human connection. In order to illustrate human connection between individuals on the pieces of art, it is necessary to include detailed faces with expression. Without this element, people in the paintings almost appear stoic and unidentifiable. An example of defined faces on people would be in the artwork Madonna Enthroned with Angels and Prophets. Giotto portrays human connection by giving Madonna a full-bodied figure while carefully holding the child. She has a somewhat serious look on her face, but there is still a nurturing impression about her. The people surrounding her have defined faces, but they look very similar. This piece of art distinguishes it from the past, but following pieces of art go into further detail and continue to improve individuality. Another aspect of realism portrayed by Giotto is the effect of gravity. Before the Renaissance, gravity's effect was not typically portrayed in paintings. Weight and gravity play a larger and more varied role in Giotto's paintings than one finds elsewhere in the period. In Madonna Enthroned, Madonna is supported by the throne while the angels and prophets kneel or stand on platforms that are clearly defined or implied. Giotto specifically makes it a point to add steps in the piece of art to imply that there are steps of different height to account for the different heights of the people in the back rows. Giotto does this so that the viewer doesn't think that those people are somehow floating there. Another artist that created significant amount of detail in his artwork was Duccio di Buonasegna. An example of individuality through the use of individualized facial features on his artwork would be his piece titled Betrayal of Jesus. There are many people in this piece of art, and each one of them has a very distinct face. They aren't simply renderings of people standing motionless with no facial expression. The wrinkles on their faces create expressions that enable the viewer to have a better understanding of what is taking place before them. Another important feature of humanism is body language. Body language is just as important as facial expressions and individuality. It adds to the sense of what people in the artwork are feeling. Additionally, characterizing emotions through the use of body language increases the figure's sense of being instead of being conveyed as statue-like figures. This adds to the sense of humanism. In Duccio's Life of Jesus, he gave the people very distinct features and included essential aspects of humanism. They aren't like statues. Instead, they seem very laid back and lively. Further, Duccio individualized the faces of the four saints kneeling in the foreground who perform their ceremonial gestures without stiffness. These appearances provided a means to give life to the people in the artwork and portray a natural appearance rather than a superficial one. As previously discussed, Duccio did an excellent job at providing the viewer a way to understand the context of his artwork portrayal of Jesus. We went over the aspect of facial features, but it is necessary to go more in-depth about body language and attire. Duccio here took a decisive step towards the humanization of religious subject matter. Looking closely at the body language, the viewer can clearly understand how much a person is feeling. Some give a sense of worry while others lean forward as if they are intensely paying attention to what is happening in front of them. Previous religious artworks were very statuesque. They provided no detail of movement and were portrayed very seriously. An example of this would be the Otto I presenting Magdeburg Cathedral to Christ on page 327 of our textbook, Art Through the Ages. Other methods artists used to depict naturalism and humanism were to paint illustrations of then present-day issues such as politics. Ambrogio Lorenzetti characterized what life in the city and also in the country was like when the government was acting appropriately. In Ambrogio's Peaceful City, people are happily meandering in the city and shopping and conversing with one another. In his art titled Peaceful Country, people are walking along, seemingly enjoying the scenery. This is the first piece of its kind for that time period. Ambrogio did very well at depicting emotion through the use of facial expression and body language. The people in the city seem to be very happy as they walk through the city and carry on conversations. People seem very engaged with one another. Additionally, none of them look the same and are wearing different clothes, which adds to the aspect of humanism. The artwork Peaceful Countryside also depicts naturalism and humanism. People are portrayed contently working on their farms while the people on the path have a body language that say they are enjoying themselves. There were many ways artists throughout the Renaissance, and each of them depicted realism in their own unique way. Some unique styles included the use of distinct facial features and body language to show emotion, use of landscape, and even the use of something few thought of such as gravity. All of these methods used to create realism and humanism did excellent jobs of portraying lifelike movements and postures as well as depicting the world around us.